Exodus chapter 7. And the Lord said unto Moses, See, I have made thee a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his land. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and multiply my signs and my wonders in all the land of Egypt. But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring forth mine armies, and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I stretch forth mine hand upon Egypt, and bring out the children of Israel from among them. And Moses and Aaron did as the Lord commanded them, so did they. And Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron 83 years old, when they spake unto Pharaoh. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, When Pharaoh shall speak unto you, saying, Shew a miracle for you, then thou shalt say unto Aaron, Take thy rod, and cast it before Pharaoh, and it shall become a serpent. And Moses and Aaron went in unto Pharaoh, and they did so as the Lord had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh, and before his servants, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers, now the magicians of Egypt. They also did in like manner with their enchantments. For they cast down every man his rod, and they became serpents. But Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods. And he hardened Pharaoh's heart, that he hearkened not unto them, as the Lord had said. And the Lord said unto Moses, Pharaoh's heart is hardened, he refuseth to let the people go. Get thee unto Pharaoh in the morning, lo, he goeth out unto the water. And thou shalt stand by the river's brink against he come, and the rod which was turned to a serpent shalt thou take in thy hand. And thou shalt say unto him, The Lord God of the Hebrews hath sent me unto thee, saying, Let my people go, that they may serve me in the wilderness. And behold, hitherto thou wouldst not hear. Thus saith the Lord, In this thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Behold, I will smite the rod that is in my hand upon the waters which are in the river, and they shall be turned to blood. And the fish that is in the river shall die, and the river shall stink, and the Egyptians shall loathe to drink the water of the river. And the Lord spake unto Moses, Say unto Aaron, Take thy rod, and stretch out thine hand upon the waters of Egypt, upon their streams, upon their rivers, upon their ponds, and upon all their pools of water, that they may become blood, and that there may be blood throughout all the land of Egypt, both in vessels of wood and in vessels of stone. And Moses and Aaron did so as the Lord commanded, and he lifted up the rod and smote the waters that were in the river in the sight of Pharaoh, and in the sight of his servants, and all the waters that were in the river were turned to blood. And the fish that was in the river died, and the river stank, and the Egyptians could not drink the water of the river, and there was blood throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians of Egypt did so with their enchantments, and Pharaoh's heart was hardened, neither did he hearken unto them, as the Lord had said. And Pharaoh turned and went into his house, neither did he set his heart to this also. And all the Egyptians digged round about the river for water to drink, for they could not drink the water of the river. And 7 days were fulfilled after that the Lord had smitten the river. There are 3 items here that we want to clear up. The first one was that, well, several items actually. The first one was that God did not say that he made Moses a god to Pharaoh. The proper translation is the voice of God to Pharaoh. Now this was really irritating to Pharaoh because he was supposed to be God on earth. He was the embodiment of Ra, the god of the Egyptians. And for there to be any other god would have meant that he was less than a god. And he was very proud that he did not want this, to let the Hebrews go out into the wilderness to worship some god when they were in fact his slaves, and if they were going to worship anybody, should have worshipped him, would have been a severe injury to his pride, which he was not likely to do. So there is those things there. Now, on top of this, we go back to the point where the rod that Moses had that he put down became a serpent. Now, if you were to see the crown of office, the power and the authority of the Pharaoh, it had a snake on it. It was, if I remember correctly, a type of cobra. And this was what Moses put down, was a stick, a rod, which he carried, that came into that kind of cobra. So there you have the Pharaoh being challenged in the most direct way possible, saying, you think that the snake is an example of your power and authority. Well, guess what? This wooden stick I can change. This is God, sort of his example to Pharaoh. I can change a stick into a real serpent. And what happens is that Pharaoh's magicians, his sorcerers, they know about these snakes that you can push the vertebrae in their neck, and they do, and they come, and these guys have got to be ready for just about anything. And since you've got a Pharaoh whose symbol is a snake, they want to be ready with the snakes. So they drop down these things, the neck bones in their snakes become properly working again. These things decide to wiggle around. But Moses' snake is a cobra, I believe, king cobra, and king cobras eat other snakes. So that's what happened. Moses' snake swallowed up the other snakes. And then Moses took it again and it became the staff again. That was a horrible insult to Pharaoh. But he doesn't listen. The next day, Pharaoh shows up. He's going to bless the waters of the river. And they have special sacred jars that hold the water that they're going to pour into their fountains and whatever else they're going to do in their ceremonies. And Moses and Aaron are waiting. And Moses says to Aaron, take the staff and hit the water. Now you got to understand, to the Egyptians, the Nile was sacred. The Nile was holy. It was the one thing on which their life depended forever. They had gods, but the one thing they saw was the river, and the one thing they depended on above all other things was the river. And their Pharaoh was supposed to be the god who was in control of the river. And all of a sudden, this shepherd guy with this stick hits the water, and it turns to blood from one end to the other. The whole Nile River, every pond, every bit of water in every jar, every creek, every whatever in all of Egypt turns to blood. They can't drink it. Now, when you're in an area like that and you can't drink the water, you're in big trouble. Because your body will go through 1 gallon to 2 gallons of water a day. And if you don't have enough water, you die. You dehydrate and you die. So this was a direct challenge to the sacredness of the river, the power of the Pharaoh as God, all the Egyptian gods, and the pride of Pharaoh. He didn't handle it well. But it says the magicians and whatnot did something too, and what they would have done is they would have found a way to, in their little jars or whatever, to make something that looked sort of like blood. These people were skilled in what they did. And if he figured, well, if they can do it in little jars, maybe Moses figured out a way to do it with the big things, but he wasn't going to let his people, he wasn't going to let the Hebrews go. He did not want to. God did not have to harden his heart. And God didn't harden his heart. All of us are responsible for the sins we commit and the decisions we make. Otherwise, it isn't fair for us to be here, or it isn't fair for us to be judged. We have to have the exclusive right to make the decisions according to what we want, and so did Pharaoh. So his heart wasn't hardened. He hardened his own heart. These people are not going to challenge me. These people are not going to go.